Listen carefully. Most people think their life changes in years, but the truth is it changes in days you don't respect. You are not stuck because of your past. You are stuck because of what you repeat daily. There are 7 things, simple, invisible things, that either build your destiny or destroy it quietly. And almost no one has ever taught you what they are. You wake up, but you don't rise. That is the first problem. Most people open their eyes, but they never take control of the day. They drift. They react. They surrender their morning to noise, to messages, to other people's priorities. And they wonder why their life feels out of control. Listen, your day does not begin when you wake up. Your day begins when you decide who you are. Before the world speaks to you, you must speak to yourself. That is the first thing I did every single day. I took authority over my morning, not casually, not sometimes, every day. Because the morning is not just a time, it is a gate. And whatever enters that gate controls your life. If confusion enters, your day will produce confusion. If fear enters, your decisions will shrink. If distraction enters, your destiny will be delayed. So I became intentional. I stopped touching my phone first. That small habit was stealing my power. Instead of thinking my own thoughts, I was consuming someone else's. Instead of leading my life, I was reacting to it. And I realized something that changed me forever. Whoever speaks to you first influences you most. So I made a decision. Every morning, I would speak first. Not to people, to myself. I would sit in silence. No rush, no noise, no urgency. Just me and truth, not what I feel. Not what yesterday looked like. Not what people said. I spoke identity before emotion had a chance to lie. Because if you don't define yourself early, the world will define you incorrectly. And once that happens, you start living a life that does not belong to you. Listen, your first conversation each day is not with your boss, your phone, or your problems. It is with your identity. And most people lose their day in that first conversation. They wake up tired, and they agree with it. They wake up discouraged, and they accept it. They wake up confused, and they surrender to it. They never challenge the feeling. They never confront the thought. They never take authority. And so the day leads them, not the other way around. But I refuse that. Every morning, I ask myself one question: who am I today? Not who was I yesterday. Not who do people think I am, but who must I become today to move my life forward? That question creates tension because it forces you to see the gap between where you are and where you are called to be. And most people avoid that gap because it is uncomfortable. It exposes laziness. It reveals fear. It confronts excuses. But that gap is where transformation lives. So I leaned into it. I didn't run from it. I faced it every morning. And then I did something even more powerful. I declared it out loud. Yes, out loud. Because silent thoughts are weak, but spoken words carry authority. I would say, I am disciplined today. Even if I felt distracted, I am focused today. Even if my mind was scattered, I am strong today. Even if yesterday broke me. Why? Because your words are not describing your reality, they are creating it. And here is what most people never understand. You don't become by accident. You become by repetition, daily, consistent, uncompromising. So while others were scrolling, complaining, drifting, I was building, quietly, internally, foundationally. Because I knew something they didn't. You don't fix your life in one moment. You build it in daily decisions no one sees. And this was mine. Every morning, before the world could touch me, I touched my identity. I aligned my thinking. I anchored my spirit. And something began to shift. Not instantly, not dramatically, but steadily. My days became sharper. My decisions became clearer. My emotions stopped controlling me. Because I was no longer starting my day as a victim. I was starting it as a leader. And that changed everything. But there was something deeper hidden inside this habit, something most people completely miss. Because speaking to yourself is not enough if you don't also listen. And what I discovered next will challenge everything you think you know about control. Most people talk to themselves, but they never listen to what is speaking back. And that is where they lose. Because inside you, there is another voice, quieter, older, more honest, but also more dangerous if ignored. Listen, after I spoke my identity each morning, I stayed still. No movement, no distraction, no escape, just silence. Because silence reveals what noise hides. And at first, I didn't like what I heard. Doubt, fear, excuses, old beliefs, whispering lies I had accepted for years. You can't do this, you always fail. This is too much for you. And I realized something that shook me. Those voices were not new. They had been guiding my decisions for years, quietly, consistently, destructively. And I never questioned them. I just obeyed. That is how most people live. Not by truth, but by internal noise they never challenged. So I made a decision. I would no longer be led by voices I did not examine. Every morning, I listen, not passively, intentionally. I let the thoughts come, all of them. No filter, no denial, no pretending. Because you cannot conquer what you refuse to confront. And then I did something most people are afraid to do. I interrogated my own mind. Every negative thought, I stopped it. And I asked one question, is this true? Not does it feel true? Not have I believed it for years? But is it actually true? And most of the time, it wasn't. It was memory. It was fear. It was someone else's opinion living inside me. And yet, it had been controlling my life. Think about that. You can be living a life directed by lies and never even know it, because you never stop to listen. You never pause long enough to question the script running in your head. So I rewrote it daily, deliberately. If the thought said, you are not ready, I responded, I grow by stepping forward. If it said, you will fail, I answered, failure is feedback, not identity. If it whispered, stay safe, I declared I was not created to hide. This was not motivation. This was war. A quiet war inside my mind. And every day I fought it. Not once. Not occasionally. Every single morning. Because I understood something most people ignore. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Not your wishes. Not your intentions. Your thoughts. So if your thoughts are weak, your life will be small. If your thoughts are fearful, your life will shrink. If your thoughts are confused, your direction will disappear. And no external success can fix an internal disorder. So I brought order. One thought at a time, one belief at a time, one morning at a time. And slowly, something powerful happened. The noise got quieter. The lies lost strength. The truth became clearer. I started trusting my decisions. Not because I had all the answers, but because I was no longer being controlled by unexamined thoughts. I became aware. And awareness is power. But here is the part no one tells you. Once you silence the noise, you begin to hear something else. Something deeper. Something that does not shout, but guides. And if you miss it, you will spend your life busy, but never aligned. Because being active is not the same as being directed. And what I discovered next changed the way I move through every single day. Once the noise fades, direction begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but precise. And most people miss it because they are addicted to speed. They want quick answers, instant clarity, immediate results. But truth does not rush. It waits for those who are disciplined enough to be still. Listen. After I spoke, after I listened, I waited. That was the third thing I did every day. I waited for instruction, not from the world, from within. Because there is a guidance system placed inside you, but it does not compete with noise. It whispers. And if you are always moving, always scrolling, always reacting, you will never hear it. So I trained myself to slow down, not my ambition, my mind. There is a difference. Most people are not confused because life is complicated. They are confused because their mind is crowded. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many directions. And when everything is loud, nothing is clear. So I created space. Every morning, I ask quietly, what matters today? Not 10 things, not a long list. One, just one, because clarity is not found in volume, it is found in focus. And this is where most people fail. They try to do everything and end up accomplishing nothing that matters. Busy, but not effective. Moving, but not progressing. So I refuse that trap. If I could identify the one thing that truly mattered, I could align my energy, my time, my attention, everything toward that. And when you do that, your life begins to move differently. Not faster, smarter. But here is what shocked me. The answer was not always what I expected. Sometimes it was uncomfortable. Sometimes it required courage. Sometimes it forced me to face things I had been avoiding. And that is why many people never experience true direction, because real direction will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will pull you out of what is easy into what is necessary. So you must decide, do you want comfort or do you want transformation? Because you cannot have both. I chose transformation daily, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it exposed my weaknesses. Because I understood something most people don't. Your growth is hidden inside the things you avoid. So when that quiet instruction came, I didn't argue. I didn't delay. I didn't negotiate. I moved immediately, because delay is the enemy of direction, and hesitation weakens clarity. The longer you wait, the louder doubt becomes. So I built a discipline: act fast on clear instruction, no overthinking, no endless analysis, just obedience to what I knew was right. And something powerful began to happen. My confidence grew, not because life became easy, but because I became decisive. I stopped second-guessing everything. I stopped living in hesitation. I trusted the process. And when you trust direction, you stop wasting energy on confusion. But here is where it gets deeper, because knowing what matters is only half the battle. Most people know what they should do, but they don't do it. Why? Because knowledge does not produce change, action does. And what I did next separated me from who I was and introduced me to who I was becoming. Clarity without action is deception. You can know exactly what to do and still remain stuck. That is the painful truth most people avoid. They collect ideas. They feel inspired. They write goals. They talk about change. But when the moment comes to act, they hesitate. They delay. They negotiate with comfort. And slowly, their life stays the same. Listen, every day after I identified what mattered, I moved immediately, not later, not when I felt ready, not when conditions were perfect.
Right then.
Because readiness is a myth. No one feels ready to grow. Growth feels like pressure. It feels like risk. It feels like stepping into something unknown. And the mind hates that. So it creates excuses that sound intelligent, but are rooted in fear. I need more time. I need more information. I'll start tomorrow. No, you won't. Because tomorrow is where discipline goes to die. So I broke that pattern. I trained myself to act before doubt could speak. The moment clarity came, I executed. Even if it was small, even if it was imperfect. Because movement creates momentum. And momentum builds belief. It's waiting to believe before they move, but it doesn't work like that. You move first, then belief follows. That is the law. And once I understood this, everything shifted. I stopped chasing motivation. I stopped depending on emotion. I stopped asking myself, do I feel like it? Because feelings are unstable. They change with mood, with environment, with circumstances. But decisions create structure. So I became a man of decision. Daily, non-negotiable. If it needed to be done, I did it. No debate, no delay. And here is where it gets uncomfortable, because the action required is often the action you avoid, the call you don't want to make, the work you keep postponing, the discipline you keep escaping. That is usually the key, not the easy thing, not the convenient thing, the necessary thing. So I leaned into discomfort on purpose every day, because I realized something most people miss. Your comfort zone is not protecting you, it is imprisoning you. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. And I refuse to live small. So I built a habit: do the hard thing first, before distractions, before excuses, before the world pulls you away. Face it, attack it, finish it. Because once you conquer the hardest part of your day, everything else becomes lighter. Your mind relaxes. Your confidence rises. Your energy shifts. You stop carrying the weight of avoidance. And that alone can change your entire life. But there was something even deeper hidden in this habit, because action is not just about doing, it is about becoming. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce a new identity. You are no longer the person who delays, you become the person who executes. And identity is everything. Because you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your identity. So while others were hoping for change, I was becoming it, one action at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. And slowly, the old version of me started to disappear, destroy it, but because I replaced it with something stronger. But here is the part most people never prepare for. When you start moving differently, your environment begins to respond. Some things will support you, others will resist you. And if you are not ready for that, you will go back to who you used to be, because growth will always be tested. And what I did next made sure I never went backwards again. Growth will isolate you before it elevates you. That is the part no one celebrates. When you begin to change, when you start thinking differently, acting differently, deciding differently, everything around you feels off. People you used to align with no longer understand you. Conversations feel shallow. Environments feel heavy. Energy feels wrong. And most people retreat at this stage, not because they are weak, but because they are uncomfortable being alone. Listen carefully. Every day I made a decision to guard my environment, not occasionally, not when it was convenient, every single day. Because I realized something dangerous. You don't just live in your environment lives in you. The people you listen to, the voices you allow, the content you consume, it all enters your mind. And once it enters your mind, it shapes your thinking. And once your thinking is shaped, your life follows. So if you are surrounded by doubt, you will start doubting. If you are surrounded by mediocrity, you will start settling. If you are surrounded by distraction, you will lose focus. Not because you want to, but because influence is silent. It does not announce itself. It seeps in, quietly, daily, until one day you look at your life and you don't recognize how you got there. So I became ruthless. Yes, ruthless with what I allowed around me. Because protecting your future requires courage in the present. I reduced noise. I limited conversations that drained me. I stepped back from environments that pulled me backwards. Not out of pride, out of purpose. Because you cannot become something greater while constantly being pulled into something smaller. And here is where it gets difficult, because sometimes the environment you must outgrow includes people you care about, people you love, people who have been part of your life for years. And this is where many people break. They choose familiarity over growth. They choose comfort over calling. They choose acceptance over transformation. And slowly, they shrink back. But I understood something most people avoid. Not everyone assigned to your past is permitted in your future. That is not rejection. That is alignment. So I made peace with distance, not bitterness, not anger. Distance, because distance creates clarity, and clarity protects direction. But removing what is wrong is only half the equation, because emptiness attracts anything. If you don't fill that space intentionally, old patterns will return. Old voices will creep back in. Old habits will reclaim territory. So I replaced it daily with something stronger. I fed my mind with truth, not randomly, deliberately. Books that challenged me. Messages that stretched me, voices that elevated my thinking, not entertainment, transformation, because what you feed grows and what you starve dies. So I starved doubt, I starved negativity, I starved mediocrity, and I fed purpose, I fed discipline, I fed vision every single day. And something powerful began to happen. My standards changed. What I used to tolerate started to irritate me. What I used to accept started to feel wrong. And that is how you know you are evolving, when your tolerance for what once held you back disappears. But here is the truth most people are not ready for. As your standards rise, so will resistance, not just externally, internally, because there is a part of you that will try to pull you back to comfort, back to ease, back to who you used to be. And if you don't confront that part, it will sabotage everything you are building. And what I did next was not external, it was internal. And it changed the way I saw myself forever. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not outside, it is within, without even knowing they are in a war. Listen, every day after I guarded my environment, I confronted myself. Not the version people see, the real one, the one with excuses, the one with hidden fears, the one that still wanted comfort over calling. Because no matter how much you grow externally, if you don't deal with yourself internally, you will sabotage your own progress. Quietly, consistently, completely. So I built a habit, daily self-confrontation, not self-criticism, not guilt, truth, raw, uncomfortable, undeniable truth. I ask myself questions most people avoid. Where did I compromise today? Where did I choose easy instead of necessary? Where did fear make my decisions? And I didn't rush past the answers. I sat with them. Because awareness without honesty is useless. You can't fix what you refuse to admit. And most people live in denial. They blame circumstances. They blame people. They blame timing. But they never look in the mirror long enough to see the real problem. So they repeat cycles. Year after year. Same patterns. Same excuses. Same results. But I broke that cycle. Because every day I told myself the truth. Even when it hurt. Even when it exposed weakness. Even when it stripped away the image I wanted to protect. Because growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in confrontation. And here is what I discovered. The version of you that is holding you back is not evil. It is familiar. It is the identity you have practiced for years. The habits you repeated. The beliefs you accepted. And that version will fight to survive. It will resist change. It will justify delay. It will defend limitation. Why? Because it wants to stay alive. So you must make a decision which version of you will live. Because both cannot exist at the same level. The disciplined version and the distracted version cannot both lead your life. The focused version and the fearful version cannot both make your decisions. One must decrease so the other can rise. And that happens daily. Not once, not occasionally, every single day, through confrontation, through correction, through discipline. So when I saw something in me that did not align, I didn't ignore it. I corrected it immediately. If I lacked discipline, I enforced structure. If I avoided something, I faced it. If I made excuses, I removed them. No negotiation, no emotional debate, just correction. Because delay strengthens weakness, and immediate action builds strength. And slowly, the old version of me started losing power. Not because I wished it away, but because I replaced it with discipline. And here is the shift that changed everything. I stopped seeing discipline as punishment and started seeing it as freedom. Freedom from inconsistency, freedom from regret, freedom from living below my potential. Because when you master yourself, no external force can control you. But if you don't, everything will. Your mood, your environment, other people's opinions, circumstances. And you will live a life of reaction instead of a life of intention. So I chose mastery, daily, quietly, relentlessly. But there was one final piece, one thing that tied everything together. Because you can think right, act right, discipline yourself, and still feel empty if you miss this. And what I did last gave meaning to everything else. You can build discipline and still feel lost. You can win externally and feel empty internally. You can achieve goals and still question your life, because success without alignment is exhaustion in disguise. Listen, every day I reconnected to my source, not casually, not religiously, intentionally, because I realized something most people overlook. You did not create yourself. And if you don't understand the source of a thing, you will misuse it, including your life. So I stopped living disconnected. I stopped trying to figure everything out on my own. I stopped relying only on my strength, my logic, my effort, and I returned daily to the one who designed me, in stillness, in humility, in honesty, because there are answers you cannot think your way into. You must receive them. And most people never experience this because they are too busy being in control. But control can become a limitation. It keeps you operating only within what you know is limited. So every day I surrendered not my responsibility, my pride, my need to control everything, my insistence on doing life alone, And in that surrender, I found clarity, not always immediately, but consistently, a quiet knowing, a deeper peace, a direction that didn't come from pressure, but from alignment. And this changed how I moved through life. I was no longer striving blindly. I was walking with awareness, with purpose, with connection. And here is what most people misunderstand. This is not about religion. This is about relationship, connection to your source, connection to your creator. Because when you are connected, you don't just live, you function as designed. And when something functions as designed, it thrives. So every day I asked, am I aligned or just active? Because activity can deceive you. You can be busy and still be off track. You can be productive and still be misaligned. So I checked myself daily. And when I felt disconnected, I didn't ignore it. I returned immediately, because disconnection leads to confusion, and confusion leads to wrong decisions, and wrong decisions lead to regret. So I stayed connected through stillness, through reflection, through gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude, because gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. And when you see clearly what you have, you move differently, you think differently, you live differently. And slowly began to come together the mornings of identity, the silence of listening, the clarity of direction, the power of action, the protection of environment, the discipline of self-mastery, and now alignment with source. 7 things, simple, consistent, but together they changed everything, not overnight, not magically, but permanently, because transformation is not an event, it is a system. And once you live by it, your life cannot remain the same, not because you hope, but because you've become someone different. And that is the real secret. You don't change your life, you change yourself, and your life follows. Now hear this. Most people are looking for something big, something dramatic, something instant. But the truth is quieter than that. Your life is being shaped right now by what you do every single day. Nothing more, nothing less. So if you want a different life, you don't need more time. You need new habits, new decisions, new disciplines, daily. Because the future you are praying for is hidden in the daily actions you are avoiding. And once you understand that, you will never live the same again. You will stop waiting, stop delaying, and you will begin becoming every day, relentlessly, unapologetically, with purpose, with clarity, with power. And in time, you will look at your life and realize it changed, not because of one moment, but because of 7 things you chose to do every single day. And that is the truth. Absolute, unavoidable, final. You were not waiting for a breakthrough. You were avoiding a system. Your life did not change until you did. Not in theory, not in words, in daily practice. 7 things, repeated, refined, relentless. And once you see it, you can never unsee it.